I don't know, this is from this morning, I just, I swear, I came to the office, I thought I'm drunk, but I saw it. It's a real picture. I don't know who they are, but hopefully they're watching us. They're sitting somewhere in the third floor.
I know there's something that says keep calm right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I only have one slide actually. So I guess I'm supposed to start. Cool. So what I want to talk about is I'm supposed to make voices of chicken right now, and I asked Liz to reply, but she's not here. And Liz is supposed to reply, and then I reply, and then I say, hey, that's a proof. We guys are all chickens. So I'm trying to tell you that we're all chickens and we should strive to be pigs. Thanks, Liz. I don't know if you listen to this talk. It's from the internet. So there's this Scrum joke. No, it's not funny except for when Max telling me. Anyway, this joke was pig and chicken going down the road, and the chicken wants to open a restaurant. Hey, pig, let's open a restaurant. The pig is excited. How do you want to call it? And the chicken is like, it's going to be ham and eggs. The pig thinks for a second, like, I don't know about this stuff. You're going to be involved, but I'm going to be committed, right? The ham, my body would be part of the restaurant. So I'm not sure if I'll have time in the next 8 minutes to go back to the story. So most guys are going to end up confused and miserable. So I'll try. I'll try to tell my talk and then go back to this, and if not. Where are we today in terms of like the market and the economy? Since 2007, there was an economic crisis in the US, and the Europeans were looking, ha-ha, and then after a few years, boom, the Europeans are in a mess, and then Chinese and in Russia as well. It's not the first time it happened. It happened in the 30s, 29 until 41, until the beginning of end of World War II. It was a crazy crisis, even more unemployment than now. Now it's about 12%, about 25 million Americans can work, don't have jobs. It was like double the amount of unemployment in the 30s, right? And in fact, every president after Roosevelt, after the World War II, had some downturn in his term. And every president, including Obama, tells you two things. He tells you that he can solve it, and he can make sure that it will never happen in the future. Guess what? They're all wrong. So we clearly have a problem, right? So it seems that we're in a system, an economic system that just doesn't work, right? Yet there is not a debate. Like if you guys went to schools in the US, even the top schools, anybody who went to Harvard or Yale or Princeton? There's no CEOs in the crowd.
I'm going for a visit.
You get some lunch, free lunch. So I could Google again. So they don't teach. There's no debate of alternatives. Why? And also in the media, there's nobody really mention it. And I don't know if you guys have heard about Noam Chomsky. Any documentary that involves Noam Chomsky, run and watch it. It's just amazing. I think one of them is Manufacturing Consent, Noam Chomsky in the media. Just Google for it. The media, who's the media? It's privately owned companies, corporations. They're cheerleaders of the system. Why would they change it, right? It's the same how they affect, and they show us what they want to show us. They want to show us Afghanistan or Iraq or Vietnam, but they will not show us other countries that are in trouble because there's no financial interest behind showing it. It's the same with the financial economic system, which is capitalism. So there's right now it's a time where you see voices trying to see or change this situation or at least start debating of alternatives. One of them is a guy named Richard Wolff, and his website is Democracy at Work, which I started to listen to, and now I can tell you that when we carve food together, I'm hammering her, and I'm shocked that she can survive. Like, I think she's more pissed from me talking to her than the one-on-one we don't move. One day she will just jump out in the middle of the ride. She's only 10 miles per hour, so it'll be easy. I have 5 minutes. So what is this alternative, right? So what some people suggest is to kind of like look at where we work, right? And try to democratize the workplace. And if you think about it, you guys are committed to democracy, right? I mean, that's why some of us are here. I mean, you were born here, so nobody told you that. For people who weren't born here, we came here some reason because we want democracy. Why aren't we applying it on the place where we spend most of our adult life, right? Here. So what's going on in companies, right? You have these shareholders, the majority of shareholders, and they decide on nominating board of directors, right? Here we have, I think, 9. Last time I looked at the website, we have board of directors. And those guys, they decide what we create, where do we create it, how we distribute the wealth. If we have some profits, how to distribute, how much money to pay the CEO. But isn't democracy is about, if there's something that affects our life, we have to have some say in it. That's the whole idea of democracy. Well, we don't have it, right? So the idea, and some people call it co-op, some people call it the term co-op. So it's a business entity that you can create, right? Call the co-op or there's a bunch of names. It doesn't matter. The idea is that you get equal share. You become a member of the company that you work for, right? So you become part of it. So maybe on Friday you will have these discussions about the direction of the company. And there's no board of directors. And there's no shareholders. You own it. It's yours, right? So that's kind of what I had with chicken and pigs. It's not really the Scrum definition, which is more like, product managers are chickens and engineers are pigs. Here it's more of like having ownership, having like part of the business. So that's kind of what I really enjoy reading, and I hope that it will affect you, and maybe not here, maybe in your next company. If you look at your own company, think of a co-op. And there's a lot of examples. One of them is the biggest one is 120,000 employees in Spain, called Mondragon. They started with like 5 people like 30 years ago, and they're the second biggest corporation in Spain, and they're successful, even though Spain is like really, really bad situation economically. There's a bunch of them there's like bakeries in San Francisco who are co-ops, and they're run by the employees. There's also software consultancy that I read about in InfoQ, which is a site for geeks. I read that last week about a co-op, like 4 people, and they're struggling. It's not that they're going to solve all your problems. I mean, it's hard. What if somebody doesn't make an effort, right? So we fire him, we fire. It's not fair because it's like we decide how much to pay our CEO. So it doesn't mean that the CEO will not get paid more than us. Maybe he will. But right now in the US, he gets about 200, 300 times higher than the lowest employee. It doesn't make sense. Nobody should get $20 million a year, right? Because that's the problem with capitalism. It always creates this tension. It always creates this polarized approach. More tiny amount of people who are rich and majority who are poor. That's what happened in the 30s. And they went to Roosevelt, all the people, the poor people, and the Communist Party and the Socialist Party went to Roosevelt and said, hey, we got to change. And Roosevelt introduced 3 things. He did the Social Security. We didn't have Social Security. He introduced it. When you retire, you're going to have some money. You won't die. The unemployment benefits, right? If you get fired, you get some money. And he also introduced a cap, maximum wage, not minimum, but maximum. If you get about 25K, every dollar above this, 24% goes to government, and you get only 6 cents. And it was okay. The business didn't like it, obviously, and slowly they undo his changes, and now we only pay, I think, 35%. But that's a problem that capitalism creates. It always creates this tension. And maybe by having this approach of multiple smaller guys, smaller co-ops, that they don't have just money as the main thing. Yes, they need to make money, they need to be competitive. But it's also about the environment, right? And decisions like, should we take Dominic's team and out of them to China? Probably not, right? Because it's us. It's us. We don't want to get fired. We don't want to outsource our jobs overseas. So it's not just profit. It's also the community that we care about. And we don't need to share our profits with the shareholders. We don't have shareholders. It's us. So we can actually be competitive in terms of price. So that's the advantage. The third advantage of co-op is you. You will become a different person. You will become not just an employee that writes code or put stuff on whatever it is that you're doing. You're going to become a director. You direct the decision and where the company is heading to. So big companies might be tough to do this stuff. How can you sit all of us, 1,000 people on Friday and make decisions? So maybe we're going to decide to have a representative democracy, right? Somebody will represent us and make the decision for us. But if we're small, we can do it ourselves and have direct democracy. I think that's about it. What we're maybe missing, and this is the business opportunity that I kind of see, maybe tools and technology that will leverage those co-ops. So if I will see that this co-ops idea grows hopefully it is, I would start thinking of what tools can I create for co-ops to maybe like, you get an iPhone and you just hit the button, yes, no, outsource going into China or not. Boom. Dominic is not listening, I'm just taking him as an example. That's it. I'm done. Good.
What? So this title actually came from Oren more than it came from me, because Oren liked to point out to me that, oh, you're really unusual. Why do you do that with your hair? There's one day out of every week. One day out of every week. Why is it on Fridays? What is it so special about Fridays? And suddenly, your hair grows really, really long. Yes, thank you. Let's start that. Because believe me, I won't fill that time. Why is it that, does your hair just grow really long on Fridays or something, and then you just go crazy? You stick your finger in an outlet, or what the hell's going on? So, he wanted more, obviously, participants for 10 comms, and cornered me in the lunchroom, as he often does, and says, "Here is the title for your, here's the title for your 10 comms today." So I had to figure out something to do with this. Why your haircut matters. So your haircut, it really doesn't matter. I'm weird in that I like to do Fridays. I do business during the week. Fridays, you may have seen me around. I even did a engineering post on it about how on Friday I just dress completely different and my hair goes straight up. Or sometimes it goes over, sometimes it's emo. I don't know. See, does that work? Oh, it works. Oh my God. So because Oren said so. Exactly. Just to give you an idea, in case you haven't seen me roaming the halls, that is normally what my hair looks like on a Friday. It's fairly straight up. It is pretty long. It doesn't look very long when it's like this during the week, but whatever. So yeah, I had to find what's wrong.
Oh, I wanted the viewers online to see your slides, but
then whatever. Here, I'll stand over there. You can just point the camera that way. Damn you! I lost my train of thought.
Hey, give me 10 seconds extra because timer.
So yeah, so I honestly, I had nothing beyond this. I tried and I tried, and I thought maybe I'll do a Hello Kitty slide, and I'll talk about Hello Kitty, but then that would piss off Oren because he'd get upset because he won't talk Kitty so much. In case you don't know, because you've seen his laptop. So instead, I decided what I wanted to do was talk about something that you may have asked about. Why does that matter? Nobody cares about. I don't know. But I figured I'd talk about a little bit about the transition that's going on. Namely, just all the crap that's going on as far as the operational side of how it's happening. How do you get all these people in all these offices on all these systems across the geographical U.S. onto YP systems? I have no idea if I'm going to hit anything proprietary. We'll see if by the end of it.
Okay, the market is good. Don't worry.
So the who. We have 6,500 people across about 150, I think it's more than 150, it's probably somewhere like 165 offices that are sort of former Ad Solutions people. Former Ad Solutions, we're talking about, that probably includes Amdocs, includes a bunch of other outsourcing vendors that we use. And there's, of course, there are people who have about 8,000 computers throughout. So we're talking about not just your workstations, your laptops, your salespeople, your developers have multiple workstations. You've got VMs, you're talking about iPads. Oh my God, so many iPads out there. And they love their iTunes. By the way, do not ever please store Hannah Montana movies on your home drive on the server, because we know and we see it and we make fun of it. And you think I'm laughing now, and I'm saying that like, oh, who does that? There's a guy in Minneapolis. So I'm serious. We had to reach out to him. Hey, you have about 50 gigs worth of stuff out here of your iTunes library, and it looks like you like a lot of Hannah Montana. Just saying, I don't know how old you are, but maybe 6. So yeah, we have 6,500 people. It's a very large process. It's dispersed throughout the U.S. Most of these offices are between 5 and, I would say, 50 people. There's no local support, like what you call help desk, desktop support is typically what they're called. So there's like a regional person who they'll call a help desk, or they will have someone will fly out if it's important enough. They do a lot of shipping of machines back and forth. So it's a bit of a logistical challenge in how do we move all these people who are sitting on AT&T's network, all the offices, physical computers, migrating them, moving them to a different Active Directory domain, all that jazz. So it's reasonably complicated process. So we have new network connections that we have to drop in every office. There are new apps that have to be deployed, either custom apps that are being deployed or boxed apps that all have to be deployed. We're talking, I think, just from, I'm only speaking infrastructure, by the way. Just from infrastructure's point of view, we're talking probably about, what are we looking at, 40, 50 different projects running simultaneously that are just in infrastructure. I know a lot of the apps is even more. I think there are about, hundreds. At least over 100 application projects that are running at the same time. We're talking about expanding systems that were originally built for 1,000 people. Remember, most of what we have is, we're running for core old legacy AT&T Interactive systems that we're having to expand and bring them all over onto our network. So we're going from 3 core offices with 2 data centers to 160 some offices with 2 data centers. So that means all new network infrastructure. That means ripping out all of the old server infrastructure from all these little offices. That means going in, and often these offices literally have to be re-cabled in some of these places. We're having to migrate all their data. I don't even know what the last, I don't remember what the last number was that I saw. I know, I can't even say how much Oracle Financials is as far as, yeah, exactly. It's great fun. That's the project. I know we're talking over 100 terabytes of data that we're having to move across from AT&T systems. That's anything from just basic team sites and team shares on SharePoint and just basic file shares. That's email boxes that are moving across. Thankfully, they have very small email. And we have to do all of this with minimal business interaction. We're trying to minimize the impact on any downtime whatsoever. Essentially, the business has to keep going. We can't interrupt them, and we have to do this as smoothly as possible. This means we have to do things on the weekends, after hours, as whatever we can do to bend to their schedule. Yet at the same time, we have to do this in under 12 months. May 7th of 2012 was the beginning, and it was get, set, go. We had no prep time. It was a lot of fun. So how do we do this? See if I can point this thing. Oh yeah, in 12 months. There you go. The how. Project managers, they will save your life. Project managers do save your life. They save your life in this case because we have whole teams of project managers that are going out and contacting the reps, contacting the offices, literally holding calls. I want to say they're in meetings constantly all day long with not engineers so much as they're in meetings all day long with the actual end users. They're sitting there going over the phone. Do you know how many servers you have in your office? Can you please do an inventory of everyone's computer? And they have to sit there and walk through them. Walk through with everyone. Do you know what a group mailbox is? Well, let me explain it to you. And let me tell you why we need to have a list of them. Do you know what a distribution group is? We need a list of those too. Please give them to us. So they're saints. Project managers are really the lifeblood of this whole project. They make the whole thing go. The developers, heck, all the development teams that are going on. These guys are doing insane work in trying to, I don't know how they do it, honestly, in beating themselves silly and trying to meet our deadline of getting all of these apps either ported over or integrated into new systems. I mean, the ADP, we've got HR projects out the wazoo that are all being run simultaneously, and all this stuff is all trying to get it all done and get us off so we can quit paying AT&T tons of money. Infrastructure groups have all scaled up. Most of this work, obviously, is not fun. It's not pretty. It's not glamorous. It's all just nitty-gritty. Throw network gear out there, get circuits ordered, get users migrated, and data moved, and systems built, and it's a lot of grunt work. And I think infrastructure alone has grown to, I don't know, 75% of its size that it was previously. And then that's desktop engineers. Desktop engineers have done, they are actually going out to each and every single one of these offices, and they have to go out and handhold all of these people, handhold all of the computers, make sure that they are properly being moved, and sit there and give them a whole presentation at the end of the day and say, here's all your new stuff. Here's all the new systems. This is where everything is. Here's all your documentation. Let's support you for 3 days, and out they go. That's pretty much it. We have 20 seconds. Does anyone actually have any questions, or does anyone care?
You care.
Well, you care, but you may not have
Only
questions.
10 seconds, by the
Yeah,
way.
10 seconds. Oh.
Or actually, more like 9.
Awesome.
What is the hair product of that?
What about the hair?
Hair product.
What is the hair product? It's Schwarzkopf got to be glued. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Alessandra, and I am on the HFB team, and I do usability user research. About 80% of my work is on the ad product side, and I'm going to be talking today about usability. And one of my favorite people, Bruce Springstein. And so I'm going to be incorporating what I've learned about Bruce and what I've learned about usability, and they actually do have a lot in common. So the first thing, this is John Landau. This is Bruce Springstein's manager. He's a person who takes a lot of flack, and I've just come to understand and learn that one of the key differences between a really positive user research, usability experience is having a great manager. And so you need someone who's going to be willing to support you, provide you with ideas, someone who is creative, but at the same time, they're letting you go out there and explore in your career what you want to do. And they're also someone who is a sounding board. They're someone that provides you not just with advice, but they're someone who challenges your thoughts, they challenge your opinions, and by doing that, they make you a better researcher. So if you're going to have a career in usability, you have to be willing to travel a lot. I've never had a job where I did not have to travel a lot. So if you're not willing to spend 2 weeks every single month out of the year living at the Hilton in Mountain View, then this is not the right career for you. One thing I've noticed, when I go to Springsteen concerts in the Midwest, the audiences are much better than LA or New York. So if you go to Kansas City or you go to St. Louis, Missouri, you're going to have a much better experience than a typical LA, New York, or even like a Chicago, a major metropolitan area show. I've had to do a lot of research in the Midwest, and what I've really noticed is that in the flyby states, people provide you with a lot more feedback. And I've heard this from marketing professionals as well, not just people that do usability and user research. So much of the research takes place on the coast. You know, even YP, we do a lot of our marketing in LA and in New York. So it's always great to go out to the heartland and speak to people there. Very valuable experience. So it's really key to be having someone on your team that's a great product manager. I typically work with a lot of different product managers, but you want someone who is really going to be a sounding board and someone who's going to be supportive of the research that you're doing. So this is Clarence Clemens, and he played sax in the band, and he's now deceased. And so he was someone who, he did a lot of drugs, and he had a number of wives, so that's not always like the best comparison to a product manager. But I always feel like product and UX can have a very tense, difficult relationship. And Bruce and Clarence were very, very different people, but they had a relationship that could be tense at times, but they made it work. And if you really want to be successful and have a pleasant working experience, you have to really be willing to collaborate with other people. And one of the key people that you're going to have to collaborate and work with is your product managers. The rest of it's not here.
Improv, come on.
Let me see where it went.
Humiliation. Fun.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, and Bruce Springsteen has done a lot of work with him outside of the band. And one of the things that I like to do is collaborate with other researchers, not necessarily on my team, but at other companies. And it's really important to do that for a couple different reasons. Some of the research that I'm doing, I may be doing it for the very first time. So I've never researched e-commerce or some aspect of social or something new that we're doing with product ideation. It's really valuable to reach out to someone on another team who's at another company, and they may have some great insights and have some great recommendations about tools that they've used. And because they've already used those tools, or maybe they've used a particular research approach, they can provide you with feedback on how to use these tools and how to make it a more streamlined experience. They can provide with you some great insights into things that they did wrong and things that they learned from, so that you don't make those mistakes when you're going out and doing that research. So one of the big dangers is when you're doing a really large usability study is that it goes on and on and on. And the Born in the USA tour just went on and on and on. It went on too long. And that's not something that's really ideal. And you don't want your usability study to go on and on and on. So this can really lead to extreme burnout. So when Bruce was done with the Born in the USA tour, he was very, very burned out. And when I was done with Mac Office 2011, I was very, very burned out. So you're not in love with what you're doing anymore. You're sick of the road, you're sick of the travel, you just want to go home and sleep. And that's how I felt after doing all the research for Mac Office 2011. Make rehearsal a priority. So for me, that means running pilot testing for my usability studies. If I have a really complex study and has a lot of moving parts, this could be something for CP3 or our new entry-level products where we're asking the advertiser to go in and create a website. I just can't go into the lab, bring in some participants, and run the study. What I will typically have to do is, and depending on the complexity of the project, take anywhere from 4 to 6 people, some people on my team, maybe the product manager, have them go into the lab with me when I have my usability script, and I will have them go through the task and go through the questions, and that way I can work out the bugs so that when we have the actual testing and we bring people in and we sit them down in front of, let's say, the listing flow, or we want them to go purchase an e-commerce product, go make your website. I have worked out those bugs, I've worked out those kinks, and it's a very streamlined, fluid process. Listen to your audience. So this is something that is really key. All too often, I think one of the mistakes that researchers make is that they go into the study with their plan and they just want to stick to the plan. So there are certain things that we need to learn, let's say if we're working on our advertising products. And we want to make sure that people understand how to get their listing and they understand how to make their purchase. But you really have to let them talk about what they want to talk about, because that's where your most valuable insights will come in. And that is really what makes the study a success. And it provides the most valuable insights to not only the UX team, but to the product team as well. So when Springsteen, when he's in concert, you always have your set list, but he is always willing to go away from that set list and accept songs. And you're also going to have, as an audience member, a much better experience if he's letting the audience go where they want to go. So everyone wants to hear Badlands and everyone wants to hear Born to Run, but it's much, much better and a more valuable experience if Johnny 99 is played or Incident on 57th Street. And this is my favorite Bruce Springstein sign. Thanks.
One thing that's cool about living in LA is that we do have at least 4 of the best live comedy theaters really in the country. There's iOS, UCB Theater, The Growlings, which is super famous. A ton of SNL character actors, I should say, come out of all those places. And so for about the past 4 years, I've kind of been studying it, and I just thought it would be fun to talk about it. And I think I can probably make it apply to our daily life here in some ways. So I'll just start by talking about sort of the history of improv comedy. I'd assume that most people are familiar with it from Whose Line Is It Anyway? That's probably the most popular incarnation of it. And that is what's sort of known as short form improv. There's nothing wrong with it. It's totally valid and they're great at what they do. But the more interesting sect of improv to me is called long form, where a group of people can literally get one word and do 40 minutes of scenes based off of it, and how they interplay and they make callbacks, and it's all about collaboration. So I guess that's the most relevant work aspect of it. But all of improv sort of evolved out of theater games, basically just warm-ups for actors. And it's really interesting. There was a woman named it's a strange name, but it was Viola's Balloon, and she taught what I think we would now call autistic children or developmentally different kids, but that was in like the 50s and 60s, so they didn't really use those terms. But a lot of those same like theater games became like the root of like the whole philosophy of improv. So yes, the main goal in any improv scene is to sort of get to the game, it's called. So anything with improv, it's like, it's an invitation to play this game. So if you think about a whose line is it anyway type thing, they basically give you the game. They'll be like party quirks. So I'm a guy who falls asleep every 30 seconds. That's like my game. And so in that, you sort of always know what I'm going to do, but when I find new and interesting ways to do it is when you sort of click in. Excuse me. So yeah, so like the game of the scene can also be seen in written comedy sketches too. Like if anyone knows the Monty Python Dead Parrot sketch, the game of that scene is that the parrot is clearly dead, and the guy just won't admit it. And he finds new ways to say, no, it's just sleeping, no, he's just tired. So it's all these ways that he can't face like the game, like the absolute truth of it. And so when you are improvising with someone, like the key, like the main building block, and I think this is what applies to collaborating at work, is a phrase that we use called yes and. So like you can say anything to me, and to me it's an invitation to play the game of the scene. So instead of saying no or what or questioning you, I just say yes, that is absolutely right. And here's another thing, I will add to that. And then you say, yeah, that is true as well, and I will add to this. So it's sort of a way to get everyone on the same page and to treat every idea as valid. And I think that, you know, that's not just for improv, that can be in work. Like, treat your coworkers and your friends as, you know, the artists and geniuses that they are, and people generally elevate to that level. Whereas it might be easier to say no, like, in real life, you should probably say no to almost everything strange to, like, stay alive and safe. But in improv, it's much more fun, and it's a much more affirming choice to say yes and then add a unit of information or agreement to it. So yeah, the other thing, I feel like improv sort of gets a bad rap for like people thinking that you can just do or say anything for a laugh, and I think that that's like the least artful form of making someone laugh. Because like I could just like yell or scream or make a funny face and people would laugh, but it would be like a nervous energy. So the more artful way to do it is to like justify everything and think of like, what would really make a human being do this? Like, what would a person who really falls asleep every 30 seconds say? You know, they would have to be like, guys, like, there's a thing that you have to know about me. And to really put yourself in that spot and make it as, like, human and truthful as you can, I think that always leads to better humor. So, yeah, I mean, that's sort of all that I have. I'm sorry that there's only one of me. I wish I would have had someone that could have shown up and done more stuff.
You have 5 minutes to act on us.
Yeah.
Take us and
You got 5 minutes.
do crazy stuff.
That's true, yeah.
Dan,
Oren, you're still out there.
So I guess I will contradict everything I just said and not say yes and. No, I think that we can all take that away. And yeah, just say yes to new experiences and new things, and yeah, try to make the most of it. So, thank you very much.
anybody know what this is? Yeah. We got a few. Okay. Okay, so I came across Bitcoins. My name's Seth Murphy, and if you don't know me, I work for SearchPro. Just joined the team in July. I don't know many of you. I've met a couple of you. Gotten pretty close with a couple of you. Not yet. You're fantastic. So interesting. I found out about Bitcoins, let's see, just 2 months ago. And I came to work, and I was interested to find out more individuals around me that might know about Bitcoins to see what kind of conversations would come up. And I'd already had a speaking, I guess, relationship with Nadia, because, again, I don't know many. And she was like, no, I never heard of Bitcoins. And so I gave her what I'm about to give you, which is a brief description of what Bitcoins are. But then, I'm just going to talk about the trail because it kind of points to something in this. Then the trail just kind of bounced, and I went from Nadia to Paul. I saw Paul, and Paul and I had a speaking relationship, and I was like, hey, you know anything about Bitcoins? It's like, you're the second person that I've talked to that has brought up Bitcoins. Yeah, I do. And then he turns around and he's like, Oren, you know more about Bitcoins than I do, and that's when I met Oren. So, it was interesting to see the gossip trail, to see where and what happened with it. So, Oren and I spoke about it in Bitcoins. Bitcoins is a virtual currency. I actually have the wallet on my phone. This phone is a Galaxy Note 2. The processor that, one of the processors in this is an NFC chip, which is near field communication. So now this, depending upon what happens in the future, if people pick up on NFC like Starbucks has and like some other locations have, and if they adopt Bitcoins as a virtual currency, as real currency to that establishment, all I really have to do is load up my Bitcoins on this by Bitcoin mining them, and I'll tell you guys about that. But then I can just flash my phone in front of there, kiosk or whatever, and pay for my Starbucks coffee and walk out on Bitcoins alone. So Bitcoins, how do you get them? Well, hold on. By the way, this is the first time I've spoken in front of this big of a crowd. Okay, so Bitcoins in a nutshell. How they work. They work on transfers, gossip, and appending. They work on a transfer. I Julie, give Sam 1 Bitcoin. Julie signs the declaration with her public key because everything is transcribed in GPG protection security. Then it gets gossip in the peer-to-peer network out there that, hey, did you hear that Julie gave Sam a Bitcoin? From there, Julie sends the declaration in the peer-to-peer network that gossips through the change. Append, everyone, the official registry of transactions should now include Julie paying Sam, Bob paying Sally, and so on and so forth, onto the transactions. This is gossip too. Requires solving a problem so hard it takes the world 10 minutes for someone to do it. If it takes less than 10 minutes, it's not hard enough. Crypto lets you make things hard enough, basically. So, Lynn Sossamon, and solving the problem gives you 25 Bitcoins. So, I went over who built Bitcoins. So, how do you get that 25? What's mining? I'll get into that. Actually, I'll get into it right now. Okay, so mining, there's a couple of programs out there, and it's just taking in the hashes and your computer process power going through all those hashes to solve the problem, whatever the problem is within Bitcoins. The problem is basically what I just showed you, which is the append, showing the circulation of money, how money circulates. And if your computer can solve that within 10 minutes, crypto bumps up the level of difficulty, and now that problem becomes harder for everybody. So they have pools out there that are ginormous. The one that I'm on is called Eclipse, I believe, and I can get roughly about 0.02 Satoshis every week or so. So a Satoshi, actually let me get through this. Sorry, I'm everywhere. I have a little bit of ADD. Who built Bitcoins? Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who this man is or who this group is. They've come to think that he's actually Lynn Sossamon. Actually, Lynn Sossamon. And somebody else here in a second. But Lynn Sossamon, interesting development that I've come across, but he was born in 1980 and he died on July 3rd. He was a computer cryptographer at Computer Security and Industrial Cryptography. Real smart guy. Supposedly, he made a deal. How this all works is he made a deal with Ben Bernanke. He met with Ben Bernanke, rumor goes, as gossip trends. He met with Ben Bernanke and said, if I build a system that is secure and seen as an actual currency on the internet, will you also see it as a currency? Ben Bernanke said, yes, I will. as rumors go. So Lynn Sossaman created the Bitcoin wallet client, whatever, or if you want to go back to the Mr. Satoshi. Satoshi built this and distributed it out on the internet. Now, I'm really not going into much detail here, but the detail is, in order to make this all work correctly, you need to get on IRC. And you also need to have some level of trust within that channel, saying that if I give you 1 Bitcoin, you're going to give me money back. But this is interesting. Anyways, so it is turned into a currency now. The Satoshi goes down to this millionth of a Bitcoin, and goes all the way up to 1 Bitcoin. So you have 100 million Satoshis basically in 1 Bitcoin. Now, at any given time outside, there's going to be 21 million Bitcoins released once they finally release them. Blocks are being released, I believe, every second a new block is released. Whether or not that block of information actually has a reward in it or not is up to the system. And nobody has an idea of what the system is doing, because you'll never understand this. You think you get it, and you don't get it. Like, I've watched a lot of people talk about this stuff, and it just blows me away. But anyways, it's virtual currency out there. Your machine can make it. So going back to Oren's talk of co-ops and other ways to build a democratic business, here it is. You have virtual currency. It's coming from nothing. It's coming from basically your energy source. You're plugging in your computer or your laptop or your server into the wall outlet, and your computer, depending upon the power, can handle so many hashes every second. And once your pool or you have found a block that has a reward in it, you get 50 Bitcoins. So it's easier if you got a lot of computers, and that's where the pools come. So Dan Kaminsky is the other person that's in here that they believe is part of Satoshi, whether or not he's one person or multiple. So Dan Kaminsky is part of DEF CON. He's one of the, I guess, more black hat people. He sends injections and does a bunch of crazy stuff out there. He's a hacker. He knows his stuff, and I've got a lot of respect for this guy. I've listened to him talk a couple of times. Very smart, knows way more than I do, and I would allow him to teach me lots of stuff. But when Lynn Sossaman died back in 2011, he actually, I'm just going to skip. I don't know why it was built. The bank bailout, that's basically why Lynn Sossaman built it, was because he watched in 2009, he watched all these banks get bailed out, just money, your money, everybody's money just getting handed to these banks. And Lynn Sossaman said, no, this isn't happening. This is stupid. Why are we doing this? Why do we keep coming back to this? Why are we bailing people out on their errors within the system, which has to do with pi, right? I think it has to do with pi. But anyways, he created Bitcoins, and now it's being gossiped. So the devil's in the details, and that is that Dan Kaminsky injected a packet within the hashes that if you are lead or something like that, I don't know, a hacker can do interesting things with computers that I cannot. You can actually extract this text file from the packets that are out there, the blocks of information that are out there. And it basically reads, Lynn Rabbi Sossaman, 1980 to 2011, Lynn was our friend, a brilliant mind, a kind soul, and a devious schemer, husband to Meredith, brother to Calvin, son to Jim, and Dana Hartstrom, co-author and co-founder, and Shmoo, and so much more. We dedicate this silly hack to Lynn, who would have found it absolutely hilarious. Dan Kaminsky, Travis Goodspeed, P.S. My apologies, Bitcoin people. He also would have LOL at Bitcoin's new dependency upon ASCII Bernanke, because who knows? At this point in time, there's so much history around what Bitcoin is. I don't know if we're all being trolled at this point, or whether it's actually reality. If it's reality, it's a standing point for a closed system where I can take many computers and put them out in the middle of nowhere and hook them up to solar power and create my own node and my own bank and have my own money coming in to me from nowhere, from the ether. So, any questions? My time's up.
So, how does one Bitcoin is not integral? So you can go to the 1/10 millionth or something.
Right. Satoshi. Right. We're talking about Satoshi. Okay. And see, this is my problem a little bit, right? So this is the 1 millionth place, or 100 millionth. 1 million, right? So we've got 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. Yeah, 100 million. Okay, so that's 100 millionth place. My problem is when you get to pi, you throw pi into the mix, you throw some decimal. That decimal goes out where? Does anybody know where it's at? What's up? It's infinity? No. They found they've got a number there. That's how we get our cryptography, right? Isn't it? Oh, come on. Anyway,
You guys know this.
but it's fairly interesting nonetheless. So my thing is, once it hits 21 million Bitcoins out there, right? What's going to happen in the market? Because then all those Bitcoins are out there. Is it going to influx? Whatever. Well, the scale on it is the fact that, like I said, this is going to become $1. Well, I didn't say that, but this will become $1, and this, I mean, this is up 21 million. So that scale is just incredible. I don't know where all that money's. Come on, that's a lot of money, right? Okay, yeah. So, but the decimal point doesn't really stop here. So what would stop anybody from creating past this to just round up to this, right? Like, I think that's how the system actually works. But I don't know, because I'm just nobody.
All right, guys. Thank you.